You guys talked about the Russia hoax nonstop.
The FBI was investigating it. The FBI was investigating it, and we recovered them.
And so you took the words of unnamed FBI agents and put them on your network as if they were the gospel truth. You did it again and again. A viewer of your network would have believed that Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin conspired in 2016.
No.
That was totally and preposterously false.
No.
Well, that's
what you just said is
why.
false. President Trump has gone to, quote, extraordinary lengths to keep specifics about his meetings with Russian President Vladimir Putin secret, even keeping them from top members of his own administration. Take a listen to how President Trump responded Saturday night when asked directly if he has ever worked for Russia.
I think it's the most insulting thing I've ever been asked. I think it's the most insulting article I've ever had written.
The president did not directly answer the question. It's a stunning turn of events. Do you think the president of the United States ever worked on behalf of the Russians against American interests?
Ooh, I got a good video for you guys. Subscribe if you're new to the channel. I try to release a video 2 times a day on politics, culture, news. I'll give you my basic reactions. You can see my body of work in my channels. I hope to earn your subscription by the end of the video. So, as you saw from the intro, Jake Tapper is getting this work from JD Vance, and JD Vance has pretty much mastered the art of just embarrassing the mainstream media. Elon Musk, a guy I respect and value a lot of people still believe that the Trump-Russia hoax and have no idea that the Steele dossier was a scam funded by the Hillary campaign. This is Glenn Greenwald, who I like to, use as a counter reference against my own bias because he's more left-leaning, right? And he tries to be more objective than I am. So to me, he's the standard, right? For me, anyway. Corporate media goons like Jake Tapper insist they never bolstered the Steele dossier, never pushed the Trump-Russia conspiracy, never said Hunter Biden's documents were Russian disinformation. Everyone knows they're lying. Just admit it, you did it, and apologize. And this is what this video is going to be about, because you're going to see, like I talk about this a lot on this channel, but the media covers Trump 89% of the time negatively. You know how many times they covered Harris negatively? About 17%. So only 17% of the time they'll say negative things about Kamala Harris. And 89% of the time they talk about negative things about Donald Trump. And you think you're getting objective news, especially if you only listen to legacy media. This is why many people are trusting social media more than they trust the TV. Because in social media, there's more diversity of opinions, diversity of perspectives there. While in these legacy TV networks, there's a lot of gatekeeping that segments off a certain representation of the American people, and people feel more represented about their beliefs, about their views on social media than they do on the TV. Perfect example is Scott Jennings. Here's a clip of Scott Jennings actually highlighting the idea that calling Trump a fascist is bad for business.
I think they are leaning into everything that has nothing to do with the core problem of the campaign, which is that people just don't really know what she would do as the president. I mean, that's the main problem. They've heard all the attacks on Trump. They know the celebrities like Democrats. We know all this. What we don't know is what would she actually do as president. This was the deficiency in the CNN town hall last night. Can't answer basic questions that she's been asked over and over and over again. Doesn't want to discuss the biggest issues in any specificity whatsoever. None of these star-studded rallies, none of this stuff, it's all anti-Trump and shut up and show up. That's basically the campaign.
So I'll show you that clip. If let's say you pause that clip and you were to do your research on every individual on that panel, other than Scott Jennings, I think he was the only conservative on that panel. And these are kind of the weighted panels that I always point out on this channel. And this is something that you guys are going to talk about, network integrity. And to me, I'm like, is this like integrity? It's 5v1, 4v2, right? And this is the weighted panels. And usually it's rare for me to see like a balanced panel on the debate on the CNN networks, because you had Caitlin Collins. Caitlin Collins, I know she's a liberal. I know she votes Democrat. I know she donates to the Democratic Party, right? And she has a tendency to weigh in as the moderator in the discussions, right? I have another example with Scott Jennings debating Mark Cuban. I'll probably put out a reaction video to that one, because that highlights exactly my point. When it's 1v1, oh my God. It's fairer. It's a fairer debate than when you're outnumbering the conservative. The lasting thought or the lasting impression that you're trying to give onto the viewer is that the Democrats are right on this. Oh, the Republicans don't know what they're talking about here. And then when we call out, hey, CNN's biased. Oh, no, we have conservatives speaking on our panel. Yeah, at a disadvantage. And this is the kind of integrity point that this is what resonates with me when JD Vance is sitting here lecturing Jake Tapper, because I feel the same way. When Jake Tapper's sitting here trying to say, oh, we don't do that. We're not. I'm like, hell, you not? And this is the problem. They make all these exaggerated claims. Oh, Trump might be a Russian spy. I still have people telling me that today. And I'm like, huh? Oh, black people going to regret voting for Trump. He going to put y'all in chains. Because CNN don't push back on none of this exaggerated, dramatized idiocy. And I'm glad Scott Jennings pointed it out. Oh, Trump is a fascist. Trump is Hitler. And now Jewish people are finding it disrespectful. Who would have thought? But I digress. Let's get into the reaction.
Ask yourself a basic question about network integrity. You guys talked about the Russia hoax nonstop.
The FBI was investigating it. The FBI was investigating it, and so we covered them.
And so you took the words of unnamed FBI agents and put them on your network as if they were the gospel truth. You did it again and again. A viewer of your network would have believed that Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin conspired in 2016.
No.
That was totally and preposterously false.
No. Here. If I was Jake Tapper, if I was sitting across Jake Tapper, this is what I would do. Do a poll about this Russian disinformation thing on your audience and see how much of them say that they believe that it's a true story. And you're going to have to fact check your own audience members. But that's not going to be a good look. You don't want to end up like Washington Post. After they didn't want to endorse Kamala Harris, they started losing subscriptions. Editors started resigning. You don't think the same thing happened to CNN? CNN brought in somebody, I forgot his name. He didn't even last that long. And he said he wants to make CNN more neutral. They got that man out of there within 4 months. Within the year he got hired, he already had to resign from the job. Make it make sense. But this accusation, he's going to pretend that this accusation is uncredible. Make it make sense, Jake Tapper. You yourself have disregarded the Hunter laptop story, right? Called Donald Trump Hitler, Nazi, right? You do all this little false framing of yours. Should I clip in an example right now?
It is now here. It has dropped. And it might not have produced everything of what some Republicans hoped for. It is, regardless, devastating to the FBI. And to a degree, it does exonerate Donald Trump. Why this is interesting and significant is that President Trump and others are trying to say that the FBI is corrupt, and they had this Steele dossier, which they say has been discredited, which is not entirely true, and that it's all because of the Steele dossier, and this whole investigation is based on nonsense. In this op-ed from the founders of Fusion GPS, that the dossier was taken so seriously because it corroborated reports the Bureau had received from other sources, including one inside the Trump camp.
There's obviously a big move to undermine the Mueller investigation, and we see it all the time with all...
The witch hunt.
The witch hunt.
The hoax.
Big hoax.
And people wonder why I have such a distrust for Democrats, people on the left, because I always feel like you're trying to deceive me into something, and it's based on what I research. All I have to do is look back. When I do research, I look for clips, I look for videos, I look as best as I can for the full interview, so I can see, okay, what led up to this statement. This is the statement that where they clipped out of context or they airlifted. Then let me see the reaction after, right? Because January 2nd, 2018, you saw the clip. He believed the Russian thing, right? July 26th, on his little show, he was like, hoax. He put it in air quotes. And then to sit here and say that he's not giving that impression to his audience, to his viewers on CNN, liar. Right? And this is what happens when you do just a little bit of research. You find out these people, you just exaggerating stuff. Trump is Hitler. Trump is a fascist. He's having a Nazi party at Madison Square Garden. Lie. And you wonder why the American people don't trust. Majority of the American people don't trust the mainstream media. And the only political group that trusts mainstream media are Democrats at 58%. Democrats are the only political affiliation that trusts the legacy media. I wonder why.
False.
No,
well, that's
what you just
that's
said is
why.
false. We covered an FBI investigation. I don't know why you want to talk about the FBI investigation.
You covered it in a way that gave credence to anonymous sources' accusations. You did it yourself. Your network did it, Jake. But again, Can we talk about the issues that Americans care
I'm
most
talking about
about?
things that Donald Trump has said.
Yes.
If you have an
And
issue
Kamala
with whether or
Harris-
not he's talking about the economy enough, that's between you and your running mate. I'm talking about things he has said this week.
Every single rally that he does, he talks about how he wants to unleash American energy so we can lower the cost of groceries. He talks about the fact that housing has become unaffordable. He talks about the wide open border, Jake. Kamala Harris and her allies, you know, it's interesting. Kamala Harris and her media allies, and I would put CNN in this category. You guys,
They wouldn't.
You guys seem to care.
I'll tell you that. They wouldn't.
Well, they should watch your network more because you guys seem to.
Exactly. Like, look how he covered it 2018. Look how he covered Trump. Does it benefit Democrats or it hurts Democrats? You guys are not neutral. If you gotta tell me, Kenny, if I know 89% of the media covers Trump negatively, CNN, you have to be a part of that category. You have to. The only one who has a positive light on Donald Trump at CNN is possibly Michael, and I think he's a recent hire. Scott Jennings. I think he was also a recent hire because I just started noticing him on CNN. I said, who is this guy? That's making a lot of sense. Oh, he used to be affiliated with the Republican Party. Before those two came on, CNN, I'll say 80% of the time, you were pro-Democrat. Because, this is something I'm noticing with a lot of mainstream stuff, is that they always take things from a Democrat lens. Always speak on things from a Democratic view. And this is exactly how he's asking the questions to J.D. Vance. But I digress.
Care more about Donald Trump's past than the future of the American people. We're running this campaign on making the American dream.
I'm specifically
affordable.
asking about how Donald Trump is going to be president in the future should he win. And then we're being told
He's going to pursue economic policies that lower the cost of groceries and make life more affordable again. He talks about it every single day on the campaign trail, and so do I. What you're talking about is an anonymously sourced story, or one guy
Nothing anonymously sourced.
or who
Zero
one guy who is a disgruntled employee.
I told you
where
10
five other people pushed back against him and said that what he said was dishonest. So why don't we talk about the policy that's affecting American citizens and not what Donald Trump allegedly said, according to one guy who's pissed off because he got fired by Donald Trump?
It makes sense. I mean, how you argue against that? I don't understand the media's obsession in really painting Donald Trump so negatively, right? And just to highlight the point that it's not just CNN. Kristen Welker, we all know she's Democrat operative. We already know she donates heavily to the Democrat Party. We know her political affiliations already. So her sitting here trying to pretend that she's asking objective questions is laughable to me. So I just want to show you this 1-minute clip, and then I'll wrap up the video after with my final thoughts.
So this week we learned that China was behind a broad hacking campaign targeting the phones of both presidential campaigns, highlighting the threat that China poses to this country. And yet Donald Trump recently called his domestic political opponents, quote, the enemy from within, and said they are more dangerous than Russia and China. Do you believe that people like Adam Schiff and Nancy Pelosi are more dangerous than Russia and China?
Well, I think what Donald Trump said is that those folks pose a greater threat to United States' peace and security because America is strong enough to stand up to any foreign
Do you
adversary.
agree with him? They pose a larger
Abraham Lincoln had said something similar to the enemy within. I think Abraham Lincoln was saying that it's not the enemy in front of you should fear, but the enemy behind you, essentially associating with the enemy within. Or now are we going to go back and retroactively say, oh, look at this divisive language that Abraham Lincoln was doing? What are you guys doing here, man? And then y'all want to, and then when people say the mainstream media is biased, when people say legacy media outlets are Democratic propagandist machines, you want to get mad at that assertion. But look how you portray the question.
threat to the United States than Russia and China?
What he said, and I do agree with this, what he said is that the biggest threat we have in our country, it's not a foreign adversary because we can handle these guys. We can handle foreign conflicts. We can handle, look, under Nancy Pelosi's long life in public leadership, the United States has gone from the preeminent industrial power of the world to second next to China. That fundamentally belongs on Nancy Pelosi's shoulders.
And he's talking about the results. The results hurt the country because at the end of the day, we're not a producer anymore. We're more of a consumer nation now, right? We get all our food imported. Imagine that. All our food is imported into our country, not made in our country. So what's to stop, let's say, a foreign adversary from saying, hey, let's put some virus in these foods materials that we're importing to United States of America, and these policies that allow it to be easier for us to get attacked this way. This is what they're talking about. This is like, they always try to make it seem like Donald Trump is calling for some violent rhetoric against some other, like, this is, I don't understand why the media does this, and I see why majority of Democrats trust the legacy media. I'm just saying.
And if we're going to have a more prosperous country, we've got to recognize our own leadership is why we lost our industrial base to China. Our own leadership is failing to lead this country into peace and prosperity. And of course, Kamala Harris, look, when I look at the biggest threats to America, Kristen, I think the fact that people can't afford groceries, the fact that we can't meet our recruitment goals in the military, the fact that Americans have a wide open southern border, that's a way bigger threat than any foreign threat. And yes, it's caused by broken leadership.
I mean, media, I don't understand why they do this to themselves, bro. So I want to end this outro of JD Vance arguing with Kristen Welker on the fact that inflation is down, right? And this is what I'm talking about, because at the end of the day, this video is going to highlight the negative bias that the legacy media have about Donald Trump, his campaign, and how someone can see them as a propaganda arm of the Democratic Party. With this, especially this 30-second clip here. Let's take a look.
Senators, you know, inflation is coming down. Let me ask you about some of what we've heard here.
25% higher, Kristen, than it was when Donald Trump left the Oval Office. Do Americans,
let me ask you about
if
some
Americans
of what we've heard in the U.S.
feel
this week,
like inflation is a solved problem, then maybe they should vote for Kamala Harris. If you feel like the price of groceries, if you feel like the price of housing is too high, if you feel like inflation is not over, then Donald Trump is your man.
Right. There's no doubt folks believe that groceries are too high. Just making the point that inflation has come down.
I agree with those
Let me ask you about it, Senators, you know, inflation.
This reminds me of The Guardian when they're saying that Americans falsely believe that the economy is bad. Then we found out, oh yeah, you know, the government only over-exaggerated 818,000 jobs, overestimated. Real wages is down because the cost of living went up by 20%. That means you have in this case, 25% less buying power than you did during the Trump years. This is why Trump's economy felt better than current economy. Your dollars don't stretch the same anymore. And she's saying that, oh yeah. People who believe that, like, just dismiss it. Like, that's not a very important point he highlighted, right? And she's not talking about inflation is coming down, but she's not being specific with her language. Because if someone's not paying attention, they could immediately think, oh, inflation is down. That means it's no longer 20%, it's 18%. No, cost is still up 20%. She's talking about the rate of inflation is going down. That means the inflation ain't rising as fast as it used to be. And when did it start rising fast? Biden administration, Harris administration. But all of a sudden, the Harris-Biden administration wants you to wants you to think that all of a sudden corporations just decided to raise prices. No. Inflation comes from government spending. It's always been the case. Inflation is called the invisible tax by the government because they extract the value of your dollar right now to use it for dumb stuff like transgender reassignment surgery research, where we know the outcome of that, to the point where they don't even want to release the study. Like, make it make sense. You spend $10 million on gender reassignment studies to see the effects of gender reassignment surgery, and you don't want to release the study. You're wasting our money for what? And this is a problem. This is what I like to highlight. But I digress. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How you feel that JD Vance handled the media. As usual, I think he handled them with class. He calmly dismantled them. He calmly schools them on a lot of the little biased propagandists. Like, this is why no one trusts them. That's why most people will trust the mainstream social media more than they'll trust the TV at this point. But let me know your thoughts out a week out from the election. I'd like to hear what you guys are thinking in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I really do appreciate you guys watching to the end of the video, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.